Hello, hello. Welcome to week 2. You made it through the first week. Very good. Thanks for all of the communication I have gotten from you all. As many of you know, there is a required email and office visit that you have to get done by the end of this week. And I've met with a lot of you. I've gotten emails from a lot of you, and it's been awesome. And it's been nice to see some faces and hear some voices after doing what I call teaching into the void, which is teaching to a blank screen a lot of times. So, and talking to the internet, which is what I feel like I'm doing right now. So it's been awesome to talk with you, to hear voices, to read responses. I'm working my way through the discussion posts, and it's lovely getting to know you all. As a side note, you have probably noticed if you submitted your work after, say, the second or third day of class, that it's taken me a little while to get everything graded and returned. I'll be knocking out the introductory post and the checkpoints first. I've been working on those. Usually checkpoints come back really quickly, but they kind of backed up on me. I did the ones that came in early, and then I had a bunch come in after that. So it's taking me a little while, and the journals will take a little while, but one of the important things about the journal is me giving you feedback on your MLA formatting, and you don't need that for this week's work. So don't panic that you don't have your work back super quickly. I will typically turn work around quickly, but as you have noticed, there was a lot in this first week to get in, a lot of assignments, a lot of stuff that I'm going to need to respond to. So thank you for your patience. I'm sorry that it's taken me a little while. So last week, everybody kind of got settled in. I know there were some hiccups for a couple folks with inquisitive and access codes, and hopefully that stuff is worked out. If you're still having issues, definitely let me know. So this week, we have the beginning of our first essay, and I'm sorry about the lighting, and I've tried to adjust it here, but my camera keeps having feelings about the darkness and lightness in my house. You would think that after 10 months of doing this online, I would have this worked out now. I don't. I'm sorry. So this week, we'll get started on that essay. You will get into They Say, I Say. I know some of you have done that reading already. As a side note, They Say, I Say, I find it really fun and really accessible and easy to read. The readings are pretty short, and they provide some good real-life examples. So I hope you all like it as much as I do. I know that everybody won't always love the textbooks I love, but They Say, I Say is one of my favorite books on writing. I disagree with them on a few points, and we'll talk about that as we move forward, but as kind of a solid basis for academic writing, it's a really good introduction and a good reference piece. They have some templates in the book that I go back to again and again, so I hope that you like it. We have a few inquisitive activities relating to sentence structure. And there's the office drop-in and email that I had mentioned. For those of you who haven't done it, you'll see the assignment in this week's folder. I posted it last week too, so people could go ahead and get an early start on it. So essentially, make sure that you've sent me that email. The instructions are there, and make sure that you meet with me in the virtual office. I did tack on an extra day for the virtual office. That's not due until Friday. And I will try to set up a couple hours to just be in the virtual office this week for those of you who don't want to make an appointment but want to drop in outside of my office hours. So when I get that done, I'll post an announcement. We have an article from The Atlantic, and it's old, but it's accurate, called Why Good Advertising Works Even When You Think It Doesn't. And a checkpoint, of course. We have the checkpoints every week. And a couple of people have asked what the length requirement is on checkpoints. There's not one. The checkpoint really depends on what you need that week. So there are going to be weeks when you say, everything's good, and you move on. There may be some weeks when you say, oh my gosh, I don't understand this, this, and this, or could you please go over this? Could you do a video on this? I can't find the blah, 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 etc. And that's fine. You get the same credit regardless of what you do, but please make sure that if you have a question, you ask it. If you need something, you let me know. But if you don't, it's okay to just say you don't and move on. And then the big thing this week is to choose your magazine ad and upload a photo of it to the ad approval link, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So I want to talk a bit about approaching the assignment for the ad evaluation and how we're going to do this. First of all, I've heard from several of you asking where you can turn the essay in. You can't turn the essay in yet. We've got a lot to do before we turn in that essay. So the first part of that assignment is choosing your ad and submitting it to the ad approval link. And once I tell you it's a go, then you can start working on the essay. But I've put this step in place because I frequently have students submit something that's not a print magazine ad. So you do not have to own the magazine that you get your ad from. You can borrow one from somebody. You can, if you're out at the grocery store or something, take a picture of it. You can contact the library and see if they can leave one outside for you to check out. There are a whole lot of ways that you can get access to a magazine. I happen to love print magazines, and I have an Entertainment Weekly subscription that I am way behind on reading, but I have for when I teach popular culture, so I can at least pretend I know what's going on currently. So you want to pick a magazine ad, and I want it to be a print ad. If you're reading a magazine digitally and the ad's in there, that's fine. Take a screen cap, that's okay. But I want it to be a print magazine ad so that you know when it was put out and the context of that ad. Context means what's going on around it. So, for example, I just opened this magazine and there's a Tylenol ad. It is directly across from one of the top 20 things Entertainment Weekly has done, or top 21. And it's in the current issue of Entertainment Weekly, which is February 2021. When I open the cover, there's the Starbucks creamer ads. And let me see what else. Oh, here's another one. Here's one for some, I guess this is like the Marlboro equivalent of a vape pen. I don't know. On the back, there's an ad for shows on Discovery Channel. So yeah. Anyway, and you may say, well, why does it matter where it comes from in the magazine? Well, sometimes ads are put in a particular spot for a particular reason. Maybe the story that's next to it appeals to a certain demographic, and the publishers are putting that ad next to an article that it kind of matches up with to get people's attention. Or maybe it's there for contrast. I mean, there are a whole lot of different reasons that an ad can be in a particular place. And so a couple things to know when you're picking out your ad. Pick something that you are interested in, because you're going to have to describe and analyze and evaluate this ad. So we're going to work with it for a couple weeks. So if you're sick of looking at it already, maybe that's not the one you want to work with. And sometimes students will say, oh gosh, I think this ad is inappropriate. Can I work with it? Yeah, you can. Students will say, oh, there's not a lot in this ad. Can I work with it? Yeah, you can. So, make sure though that you're working with an ad. Okay, sometimes students will send in an article. Sometimes students will send in a magazine cover. You want to make sure you're working with a print ad from the magazine, something that is selling a product or a service. Sometimes nonprofits will do advertising messages, but make sure it is a print ad. When you upload it to the ad approval assignment, make sure that you include where you got it. So what magazine issue, when that magazine was published, and what was around it. And that, if you find an old ad, like if you have an old magazine laying around, I've got a stack of magazines from the 1950s in one of my rooms. I'm so sad that we can't do this in person because I've got so many magazines you could use. So if you want to use a vintage ad, as long as you're aware it's a vintage ad and where it came from and when it's from, that's okay. But you need to make sure that you have that information. So when you do the ad approval, you upload that ad, make sure that you include that. If you uploaded your ad already and you didn't include it, you'll note in the comments that I asked about that. If you send it to me, I'll bump your rate up. So make sure that you get that in. Okay, so it's incredibly important that you have an ad to work with, because the next step is going to be describing that ad. I'm not going to get into all of that detail right now. That'll be another video, because I know this one's going to be longer than I would like for it to be. So I know that students are kind of, wanting to get into writing the essay. Now, once you have your ad approved, you can move on and look at the description information in week 3 and work on that. But I want to make sure that you have your ad first and that it works. So make sure to do that first. So with this essay that we're going to write, I have broken it down into several stages that will allow you to do a little bit at a time. It will allow you to get feedback on one stage before you move to the next stage, and it will keep you from procrastinating. I know that can be a problem for all of us. So make sure that you do each stage, you do them in order. Please don't try to jump to the end and turn in the essay and then go back. It's important that you get the feedback that I give you and use it as you move forward into the next stages. Okay. So what we're doing, I call it writing from the inside out. We're not going to sit down and write an introduction and then write the first body paragraph, second body paragraph, da, da, da. We're going to start with the content of the essay. One of the problems that students talk to me about frequently is feeling like they can't get started on an essay. And when they say that, a lot of times they're really talking about the introduction. And an introduction is hard. You need to know where you're going before you can really introduce that essay. I tell students, you don't go up and introduce people you don't know to each other, right? You introduce people that you know to each other so you can tell them things about each other and kind of get them started in a conversation. You don't just go like introducing random people at parties that you don't know. So we're gonna work on the content, we're gonna work on the body of the essay, and then we'll come back and figure out a strategy for the introduction, for the thesis statement, all of that. So I tell you like one piece at a time what you need to do. And the first thing after you get the ad approved is to describe that ad. So you don't need to go any further than that right now. I am checking in on the ad approval assignments in between grading little blocks of work. So those of you who do want to work ahead a little bit, I am turning those around pretty quickly. So I'm not going to hold you back, but please make sure that you do that first and then move on to the description. So another thing to consider is how to tackle an assignment. I break stuff down in this class because I know it's, a first college class for a lot of people, and it's English 111. Students don't come in knowing how to do all this stuff. The idea is to learn it. So I break my assignments down a lot, but that may not be the case in other classes. That may not be the case in classes after this one. So looking at the actual actions of the assignment can be helpful when you're trying to sift through a wordy prompt. My assignment looks wordy, but that's because I've broken it down and given you a lot of instructions. So I tell you, you're going to have to describe, analyze, and evaluate. And describing is the first thing that we're going to do. So if you're still maybe trying to pick out an ad, pick one that you would like to describe, or pick one that you think it would be fun to analyze and figure out what's really going on there. I tell students that as writers, our job is to sell our ideas, and as readers, our job is to be consumers of ideas, so to be careful. This is especially true with advertising. Advertisers are sneaky. The article from The Atlantic talks about that a little bit, and there's definitely even more to that than what The Atlantic discusses. Don't panic. We're going to take this one step at a time and trust the process. I know that it may be unnerving if you are used to sitting down and writing your introduction and doing the thing. Give it a shot this time. Try writing from the inside out. For future essays, you can do it a different way if you want to, but I want everybody to give this a shot, working with the description first, then the analysis, and on and on and on. So I'll stop there with yammering at you. If you have questions, if there are things that you would like for me to go over, I'm happy to post another video this week. In fact, I probably should. So if you have questions, send them along. I'm still working through checkpoints, so if I see some there, I'll definitely include them in a follow-up. But if you need me, I'm here. I hope you had a good weekend and that you are setting up for a great week. Let me know how I can help you. Take care.